comes close to what the potential of the U.S. is where I'm standing right now. There's a reason I'm in Brazil, because the long-term prospects for a regulated market in Brazil could approach the types of numbers that we see even in the U.S. That's how exciting the progression is. So 31 billion handle last quarter alone for 30 states that are doing sports betting. When I started, I had one major partnership with a company called Betfred. We'll talk a little bit more about them. Betfred is one of the largest privately owned sportsbook companies in the world, operating over 1,500 retail sportsbooks and mobile operations on 3 continents. And Betfred was an unknown brand in the U.S. They came in with a budget to spend a couple of $100 million in order to get into business in as many states as they could get into business. At that time, there were over 150 companies trying to get into the U.S. And if we fast forward 5 years later, we probably have less than 30 companies that are participating in retail and online sportsbook. I'm happy that Betfred is still one of them, because that's where my investment was made as a partner. But think about that. 150 people came to do business, and only 30 people remain, which is amazing. And when you consider that 4 companies, Caesars, who you know is a brick-and-mortar casino operator, MGM, who you know is a brick-and-mortar casino operator, DraftKings, who until 10 years ago was nothing, and now is a multi-billion dollar fantasy sports and sportsbook and iGaming company, recently acquired the Golden Nugget online casino brand, and FanDuel, which was a conglomeration of European companies that partnered with a US-facing fantasy sports company that didn't exist 10 years ago. So when you consider that 4 companies control 80% plus of America, 5 years later, billions and billions and billions of dollars later, you're left wondering, is that the right way to have an industry where a customer might have only 4 choices in the market? And that sounds, when you consider this room filled with thousands of people participating in online gaming in Brazil, you wonder, does it make sense for a country as big as the U.S., as rich as the U.S., to have such a limited universe? I will say this, if you take a company like Betfred in the U.S., right now they're sitting at 1% of the market in the 11 or 12 states that they're live in. If they get to 2%, they're worth $1 billion. If they get to 3%, they're worth $5 billion. If they get to 4%, they're worth $10 billion. So the risks are high, but the rewards are big if you can break through in a marketplace. Now, if we switch over, I will say one thing about iGaming. Unfortunately, online casino, live casino, is only legal in 4 states in the U.S. So unlike sports, we haven't seen the same traction. And the main reason for that is twofold. Concern by brick-and-mortar casinos that online gaming affects brick-and-mortar casinos, and U.S. is very much a brick-and-mortar casino culture, whereas in some markets, like Africa, as an example, or much of Latin America, the focus is online. Not so in America. So the brick-and-mortar casinos have a concern about online gaming. The reality is, in New Jersey and Pennsylvania, which have lots of casinos, okay, 2 of the states that are legal, Michigan, lots of casinos, West Virginia, many casinos, those states have seen both a growth year over year in the online gaming and a growth year over year in the brick and mortar. Now, is that proof that a vibrant online gaming does not affect brick and mortar, I think it's the beginning of proof that one does not cannibalize the other. There are, to some extent, different types of customers, and obviously during COVID, there was a great incentive to have online gaming because people couldn't physically go to brick and mortar casinos. So in the iGaming grossed $1.48 billion in Q1 of 2023 with 4 states. I think you can expect that when all is said and done, you're going to have about $100 billion marketplace for online casino. When you consider that if you add all the lottery business in America and all the brick and mortar casinos, that equals up $100 billion. So basically, in the next 3 to 5 years, as more states add online gaming, we're going to double the size of the gambling industry.